Hi, everyone. This is Emily Thompson, the ePortfolio Manager. I want to share with you one of my favorite things about the SharePoint ePortfolios, which is how you can do what's called app smashing. App smashing is when you combine different tools into the same place so that you can have a common experience among multiple different resources. So SharePoint allows us to do this. And if you're a Digication user who still has a year or two to go at Slick, I think it's a really important thing to create a Salt Lake Community College ePortfolio and in SharePoint, and then combine your Digication portfolio with that so that you get the benefit of having both experiences. So the first step is to access your Digication portfolio. And so here I am in Digication. If you need to ever access it, again, you've got the link up here, slcc.digication.com, and then you'll just sign in. And then you'll just need to find your ePortfolio in that site. Once you have found your ePortfolio, you can click on the Share View Published Version button and just copy the link to your existing Digication portfolio. So that's step one, is just making sure that you have that access. The next step is, if you have not already created a portfolio in SharePoint, you'll want to go to My SLCC, and then you'll go to the ePortfolio card and click on Create Gen Ed or Tenure Portfolio. Once you open that up, it's a form, and you'll fill out the first page. Go to the second page and make sure that you select Student Portfolio and then submit. And it'll take 5 to 7 minutes or so for your ePortfolio to be created. And then in your Bruin Mail account, not your personal account, but your Bruin Mail account, you will receive an email confirming that your portfolio has been created. So once your portfolio has been created and it's been about 24 to 48 hours, we will have our system run an overnight process where it pulls in all of the ePortfolios that were created the previous day and connects them to student records. And so you'll be able to then access your portfolio by clicking on this Access Submit Your ePortfolio link. You can also just go through email, but this is just a nice link to use in the future so that you're not digging through your email trying to find that original email that gave you access to the portfolio. So when you access that, you'll see your general education ePortfolio. And it's really important that you have this here, because this is how your professors will access your ePortfolio, especially if there's an error in a link you submit. They can go to the roster and access it this way. So here is my SharePoint portfolio. It's a fake portfolio I created as a student for demo purposes. And what we want to do now is plug in that Digication link to the SharePoint ePortfolio. So you will use this edit button up here at the top. This is your navigation edit. Just so you know, there's another edit button on the right, and this is where you'll do your page edit and edit the actual content of a site page. So we'll click this edit button. And what we want to do is just plug in our Digication link. So we'll click the plus symbol, and you can hover between any of these sections and that plus signal will appear. And then we want to keep it as a link. And we do have to backtrack and erase this HTTP. I wish that Microsoft didn't autofill that, but they do. And then just plug in your Digication portfolio there. You can give it a display name. I would call it Digication. And then I always recommend having it open in a new tab so that your users know that they're leaving the SharePoint site and going into the content that you had created as a Digication user. So you can click on Open in a new tab and then go ahead and just save that content. It might take a second for the navigation to pick up the changes that you've made, or it might be available right away like it is in this example. So now I also wanted to share, you can do this with any site. So you can plug in all kinds of sites into that SharePoint portfolio. So I also have a professional portfolio in SharePoint that I use to share with students and to get to know colleagues at work. So I could go to my student account and again, click on this edit button, and I can add that in. And this time I'm going to call it my professional portfolio. And again, I'll open it in a new tab so that they know that they're jumping to a new site. You can even add external websites that you don't control. For example, here is the Salt Lake Community College ePortfolio site. This belongs to the larger college system, but I'm going to add it to my portfolio just to make sure that people can access it. So I will put ePortfolio at SLCC. And again, open in a new tab because I don't want to confuse my audience. Now, we've set up the navigation, so we have all of these different links. You also have some ways that you can play around to make it clear. So for example, maybe I want all of my external facing content to be visible under a specific tab. So I can click on this plus symbol and turn the link into a label. So once I do that, it's not going to go anywhere. It just creates a label that everything else will fall under. So I might say, my other sites, and click OK. So nothing's going to happen here until I put things in here. So we have two options. I can take my Digication and I can drag it and drop it, and that will plug it in, or I can click on these three dots to the right and make it a sublink. So I'm going to go ahead and make all of these sublinks, and then I will save it. And now I've got an updated navigation. I'm going to expand the tab a little bit so that you can see what it would look like. So we've got our welcome, goals, coursework, learning outside of class. And then I've got all my external sites that the audience can jump to learn more about me. So if you have questions or would like to know more about how you can continue to combine other resources and really create a robust portfolio, please don't hesitate to reach out. In your Gen Ed portfolio, if you look up at the top, let's see, let me get back to it. You'll see that there's a Gen Ed Hub button, and then there's also the ePortfolio Help button. So you can click on those to access different ePortfolio resources. I'm actually going to remove that Gen Ed Help button, so it's just the Hub. And then once you get to the Hub, you'll see all of the resources that we have to help students out. So we've got an overview of how to get started with ePortfolio, the link to create it. And then we also have team members on the right-hand side. So you could maybe say, I've worked with Alfredo before. I really love working with Alfredo. You can hover over Alfredo's information and you can send a message and say, hey, can we schedule a time to meet next week? You can also send emails and access us that way. So lots of cool resources here. And again, that is available to you directly at the top of your ePortfolio, where it's just that Gen Ed Hub. All right, I hope this has been helpful. Have a wonderful day and a great semester. Take care.